Eat, love, London. I love observing people, seeing what drives them, how they tick, and it's often very different from me, but that hasn't bothered me for many years now. So this is Unschooled. It's a made-for-TV film, a romance, a drama, and I kind of enjoyed the story, even though I can't relate to the characters that much. I mean, it's a foodie-based film as well. There's a chef, um, based in Notting Hill, famous from the 1999 film, and, um, she's, played by Georgia May Foote, and her character's name is Stella Martin. Um, she has been sent to London by her family because of a breakup with her previous boyfriend. I don't think we ever get to see him in this film. We get to see his texts, or you know, that's a distraction from for her, for Stella, because um, she's still hurting over the fact that he finished with her. But she's got, sort of, a best friend of, or was it family, based in London, Rebecca Joseph, played by Stephanie Siadatan, um, and she runs the restaurant in Notting Hill. So it's a ready-made role for Stella. Um, and well, I really like the US UK dynamic. Not so much now with all our hate and disharmony that's been imported from the US during the last 7.5 months. But really probably for years before, but certainly very much manifesting in recent times and this year. But I've liked it for years, having been to the US, especially the West Coast, several times over and loved it. But yeah, it's how it was. It's the British American dynamic, how things are there and how things are here, and the differences. And to some extent, there still are major differences. And I follow a few people on YouTube because of their, their observations, either as Americans living in the UK or UK people living in America, less so the latter, but I'm still interested. Those cultural differences, how people act, and well, of course, in a film, it's not really like real life. You know, I mean, everything has to be compressed in the story that we get in a film. We get the key moments, we get the text that stitches the narrative together, and it still needs to be believable, and that's the that's when the story is successful. And I guess this story is successful in that way because I could follow it well. I got the whole gist of what was happening. Um, you know, well, we did get montages, that's a way of skipping time, but often we imagine how time moves on. And I remember a film from 1991. No, not a film. It was a documentary about films and about how some people don't have the ability to allow their mind to skip forward in the way a film expects you to do. And that is fascinating but since most of us can do that, we can follow film narratives. And this film, um, it's um, it's because it's based on a restaurant. I started thinking about Twitter when it was the OG, Chef 2012. That gave Twitter. It was like Twitter was helping the chef and his young son with their um, van, which was a food business. I mean, that's what that story was about, and I really liked it. This is restaurant, and it involves a restaurant critic who visits Bex's place. Uh, Theo Hastings is the name of that character, played by Chris Dillon, and he comes to the restaurant and he really likes the first course of a meal. And when Bex encourages Stella to go and see him because she recognizes a critic, it turns out that Theo's not so impressed with the follow on courses, doesn't like the dessert much. And so he writes honestly about it, but um, the main thing is that that first interaction, it's very awkward because Stella and Theo don't get on very well. Um, and that's a setup because that often happens in films that turn into romances. I'm just waiting for it to happen. Um, and it's kind of corny in a way, but you have to have some tension. The tension in this film really ramps up quite later on, and you think, "Oh, how can it recover it in a matter of minutes?" Um, and I'm not going to explain that, obviously, because that's the spoiler bit. But um, early on, they kind of hit it off as friends. In that Theo offers to show Stella around London, so she gets to know that the city has so much to offer in terms of food. It is like the gourmet capital of the world. I mean, that's what he describes it as, the food, the restaurant capital, because there's so much choice, there's so much going on in London. And so we get a small taste of that. But also, there's Bex's parents who are about to renew their vows, and they ask Bex to do the meal, or do all the catering, and she gets Stella involved, and so there's that point of tension coming up too, and um, it it's um, quite a lot going on. I love seeing London, just all the places. Um, I mean, it's only a snapshot, a few key places, and I don't think they're always real in this film. I mean, um, I don't never heard of the people there, Ken. Don't. I'm not a foodie. I don't know much about it. I hardly ever eat in restaurants. I did in the past when I had to, I could afford to through work. Yeah, there was more opportunities, and friends who actually wanted to go and eat out. Um, but yeah, one of the key things, like Chef 2012, is the live streams, the likes, the emoji reactions that appear on screen. I mean, Bex sets it up, asks Theo to record everything on a phone that's live streaming, and then there's all these reactions like you see on YouTubers who are popular, they will have all these little icons appearing, hearts and happiness, and comments saying, "Oh, delicious," and "Oh, I'm feeling hungry now." All those sort of things. I mean, that's what happens when food matters are live streamed, and it's really supportive, and it really seems to help places start. And so, great, yeah, that is 20s. Um, Life, really. It's the online melding with the offline, and it can really synergize things. Um, Now, um, it's painted. Yeah, there were one or two scenes that bothered me. I mean, there was one where Stella and Theo meet early on a Sunday, and it doesn't look that early. They say it's 6 a.m. on a Sunday, and there's quite a lot of people about. And I think there were also one of the main criticisms from my point of view, because I do look out for things. It was ostensibly in the summer, I think, and yet you could see at times trees that weren't in leaf, and I was thinking, and sometimes I think I don't really know because I didn't check, but it seemed like the flowers were out of the season, maybe um, no blossom from the spring. And I was thinking, so when is this exactly? Is this like July or is it April? I don't know. It sort of pings in my mind, and I think, well, that bothers me slightly. Also, there was a scene where Theo and Stella are on the South Bank, the Thames Path, by St Thomas's Hospital, where there's the COVID love wall. That's really poignant. It doesn't feature in this film, but it's there in the background. And Stella doesn't know which direction to go. She is lost in the city, and she just forces herself at one point to go on the tube to find place. And I know from friends who've done this how proud they are about going on the tube, and it is, yeah, I think, yeah, when you first set foot on a underground system or metro system in this unfamiliar city and find your way around it, it's great. I think I felt like that when I first was to Los Angeles. Um, you know, and I'm pretty good at geography, if I say so myself. But yeah, I can see why she feels proud about that. But she's lost for directions on getting to this restaurant, which is only apparently a 20-minute walk, and yet it's in Notting Hill, and that's not 20 minutes from St Thomas's, Westminster, and Lambeth. It's a tube ride in 20 minutes. And also, Thea says, "Oh, you're going the wrong way," when actually she's going the right way, even if she was walking all the way to Notting Hill, which would be right across St James's Park, Green Park, Hyde Park to Bayswater, and then walking to Notting Hill. It's a fair old walk. It's a good hour at least, if not more. Um, it's the edge of Zone 1. So, um, but anyway, he says Stella's going the wrong way when she's going up towards the Westminster Bridge, cross that bridge to start that walk, when he wants to take her down towards Lambeth Bridge. Oh, sorry, yeah, maybe it was actually the Oxo Tower or that area, the roof restaurant where they were meant to go. But that isn't even really just 20-minute walk. That's more like at least half an hour, 40 minutes. It's over near Blackfriars Bridge, the area that's shown for that. But geography often gets messed up in films. London geography, I mean, people put things in all the wrong places just for their convenience. So that bothers me. But it often even doesn't really count as a spoof, I don't think, or people don't even notice it unless they're from London. But I suppose my biggest irritation with this film is the lack of the pluralism, the assumptions made that people are heterosexual, that, oh, it's almost like the first thing when people meet each other, the characters, oh, you know, your your boyfriend, with for a woman, that sort of thing. I just get that impression that all the assumptions from the dialogue seem to ignore the fact that there's LGBTQIA plus, that's 10% of the population. So surely in conversations, say your partner, and you wouldn't. Mm, I just felt I got the impression that yeah, everyone loves. And there weren't that many characters, so sure, maybe it is just a heteronormative bubble because um, if there are only three couples, four couples, significant groups of people, there isn't necessarily a LGBTQIA plus elements, but anyone making assumptions that you know th- they're not bisexual, they're not gay or anything. I mean, I go along with it. I don't, I mean, I don't mind cis straight plus film, the sort of films, cis and straight and allosexual, as in not ace, and that's one of those things I was reading about yesterday. Um, the what else? Yeah, the people in this film are just going to conform with the majority. I mean, they do. I mean, that's quite clear in this film from the start. But it tends to figure in my mind at some point. I think, well, why not have um, a lesbian couple or something featuring in the film just as a sub story? It would just make it a little bit more inclusive, so so the LGBTQIA plus community could feel a bit included. I mean, sure, some people don't have that, and there are plenty of films that don't feature that. But in the 2020s, I just think it's nice when you do have that in films. It really helps because there's such an attack on the LGBTQIA plus community. So, despite everything, I enjoyed watching the observations, the characters, how they sort of build up the tension to when they fall out because there's this social media stuff that Stella is less than comfortable. She's less than comfortable about. But um, there's that there's that assumption before it happens from Bex that um, Stella's going to be more than friends with Theo because she actually goes out to the countryside to meet his father, and she's so overswooned by him because he's a famous restaurant restaurateur, or is it restaurant critic? I can't remember that aspect, but he's very formal Brit. I mean, he's not that stuffy. He's quite modern. He's fairly young. He's probably in his late 40s, whilst Theo's probably in his late 20s. And I, yeah, I kind of got into the film in that respect um, enough that I enjoyed this film. I'm going to score it 7 out of 10 because it wasn't that bad considering it's light-hearted, cis, straight, um, made for television film. 7 out of 10. It was all right. I kind of liked characters. I kind of like the way the actors portrayed the characters. It went well. I love the clothes they wore. I was just thinking, oh, it's all delightful. When I see them, I think, oh, you know, I like those clothes. I just like how they look in those clothes as well. So there's a lot about this film that I didn't mind, and I sort of put aside the things that bothered me, like the seasons that I mentioned. But 7 out of 10 is what I'm going to score it. I'd love to know what you think. Um, Please like if you like this review. Thanks if you subscribe. Um, Please hit the notification button. I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.